Welcome back to Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host, broadcasting live from Roseville, Minnesota, in the Valley of the Beast, the liberal zombie apocalypse of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Join me in place of MAGA Jesse today, Gunnar. How you doing there, buddy?
I'm doing great. It's kind of a wild time in our history and in our lives, but these are going to be important issues that we're talking about today, so I'm excited to be here to enlighten our viewers and to read some of the discussions that we have here. So if you want us to read a Rumble rant, go ahead, send some cash, and I'll read it exactly when you send the message, and we'll be happy to read it, and that will kind of prompt and engage our discussion as well. But otherwise, we've got a great show lined up, so I'm excited to get into it.
Dawson, I'm not seeing that we're up on Facebook, and I know people like to watch the videos there.
We are up on Facebook. Locals is the one that's giving me.
No, I'm like literally on our Facebook page, and it's not showing that we're
refresh
live.
it.
Well, he says refresh it as if I haven't done that. Now we are. Did I catch you? Did I catch you not on it? It says only 13 seconds in. Anyhow, running the dials. We're trying to run the dials as always.
For real.
Mr. Deep State himself, Dawson, who's our Jewish employee that will keep us give us a balanced opinion here today. Is that fair?
I'll keep it kosher and all that. But I'm working on locals. It's I hate locals so much.
Yeah, I hear you on that. This episode is brought to you by Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. If you're looking to buy a home or sell a home, give Warren a call at 612-419-7453. And if you're buying a home, go to the good guys at John Galt Mortgage Company. You can go to johngaltmortgage.com, or you can go check them out on Facebook or X. It's johngaltmortgage.com. Also brought to you by Alpine Cabin in St. Cloud, Minnesota. 3 things. I saw someone in the comment section already. We got a ton of people. Lane, Hate Minnesota, O'Bannon, Bill Dingsfin, True Seeker. I think we have the greatest fan base, by the way. I love you guys so much. And if you're coming to the show because you think we've drawn conclusions, and I see that out there, I see people that have drawn conclusions. They've figured out the grand conspiracy. I saw one today is like, oh, Walz is behind the assassination of these people because these Democrats got out of line and voted the wrong way, and it's a hitman. I'm like, this is so utterly stupid. This is a ridiculous viewpoint. Like, clearly not. And the official narrative, and let me just start with this. I think the official narrative is definitely plausible, which I guess the official narrative is Vance Belter, from what we understand, acting alone and planning and stalking these legislators with some ambition to kill Democrat legislators, carried out this act in the early morning hours on Saturday. Was that June 14th? Is that right? June 14th? I never thought that. So that would have been Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Right. That's interesting.
Right.
So Saturday, June 14th, carried out these acts where he actually was only successful in terms of killing one legislator, which is Melissa Hortman, and her husband was, and this is why it's like, oh, he was a trained hitman. It's like he couldn't kill, luckily, 2 people at point blank range, right? Like, thank God he's not a hitman, right? And then the plot is foiled at Ann Rest's house, and her Ann Rest's house, Representative Boehner's not even there, so apparently his intelligence isn't that good. So, that he must have had some kind of crack. He's not, there's no very, very clear motive politically other than it is political, because obviously who's the target. And that he ends up fleeing the cops at Brooklyn Park at Melissa Hortman's house, and then ends up near a residence of his in Green Isle, Minnesota. That's the official narrative. I think that narrative is definitely plausible. Okay. Becky Hack says, trained hitmen know how to hit and miss. But what would be the point in missing? That's what I don't understand. Like, that to me, none of that makes sense. And then, of course, Jesse made sure people understood that John Hoffman was not one of the votes in favor of getting rid of illegals on health care. And actually, at this point, Tim Walz has signed that into law. So that narrative seems to be gone. So I understand that there are conspiracies that have emerged, and I hate to just be like the guy that's just like poo-pooing on all of them, but some of them you just got to open up your mind and understand that the facts don't support that. So, and I don't have some conspiracy here. All I have are 3 things, and I saw someone talk about more, and I'd love to hear what you guys think, but I want to cover the 3 things that I think are quite strange about this case, okay? The whole case is strange. This doesn't happen in America too often.
Once again, Minnesota is ground zero for crazy things. George Floyd, now this. Not good.
Well, in some regards, the ICE protest started in Minnesota just a couple weeks ago. Okay, the number one, this is courtesy of Alpha News. It looks like Liz Collin had either she reached out or the neighbor in the Minneapolis home on Fremont Avenue reached out to her. Either way, she got the scoop on a very good story, and that is that the neighbor of the house that looks like Vance Belter was renting a room from with a friend he's known since grade school, saw him coming and going. So let's go to Alpha News' video. You can go check this out actually on their YouTube page. And this is the story of Vance Belter the night before, the morning of, and the morning hours afterwards, after the shooting. Go ahead.
There's this security video of what happened last weekend. And again, just to be clear, you are cooperating with law enforcement. They have access to all of this video. Your security cameras record several moments of Boelter just before he allegedly committed these horrific shootings. In hindsight, it seems as though he was setting up Thursday, Friday. Sort of walk us through the timeline here, and what did you see?
We didn't see any of his vehicles at the house in the couple days prior to Thursday. And then we did notice after going back through our security footage that he looks like he arrived where he was subleasing at around 10 p.m. on Thursday night. And then he's there in the house and doesn't leave until about Friday around 11:50. And when he leaves Friday, you see him kind of dressed in the clothing where he looks like a detective or a private investigator, and he has like some papers or a notebook in his hand. And then, and we think he was setting up, like planning for the murders. And then around 5:38, 5:40 p.m., he comes back and he has different clothes on, maybe the same pants, but he has a different shirt. So he changed clothes while he was out. He then around 7 p.m. has a raincoat on and loads a bag into the vehicle that he was driving. That was one of the fake police cars. And then he pulls that car around to the back of the property, and that's actually where that car stays.
That's almost 7 o'clock at night.
Around 8:45, it looks like he leaves on a bicycle in the alleyway. And then we did notice, too, that he was back at that residence.
Hey, can I stop real quick?
At
you know, he gets on the bicycle, but he's wearing, like, clothes. Like, you know, I went for a bike ride this morning, you know, trying to take an easy little workout instead of going, like, the gym. Actually, the gym was closed for Juneteenth.
Weird.
Yeah. Well, it's school gym.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so, yeah, government. So, anyhow, I got workout clothes on. He's actually dressed in what he was wearing the whole time. So it's not like, what's he doing on the bike there? I mean, that seems strange.
He's dressed like Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, kind of, right?
You go into another vehicle, or, I don't know how far away this residence is from any of the other residents. Was it like a stakeout quick?
The best we could tell is by 5-6 miles to get to Brooklyn Park.
Sure. And
we went through the map on that, so not likely. I mean, that's not an incredible distance, but still probably not likely. All right, let's continue on here.
55 a.m. on Saturday morning, our camera shows him pulling away from the driveway in the alley right before going to the Hoffman's residence. He comes back at 6 a.m. and breaks the window out of his own vehicle.
Okay, you see that on the top right.
He's gone
now,
and
just
not
so you
seen
guys
that
know,
residence again.
Just pause real quick. So we did cover this yesterday. He gets back to his home, which we believe was on foot. He ends up purchasing a new vehicle and a e-bike from a guy for $900. I think it's very evidently that was a hot item, right? I mean, when you look at the Buick, it's pretty nice. This is what's puzzling. And Alpha News actually shared this the other day, but yeah, he's seen, go ahead, play it. He's seen breaking the window of his car. Now, he's got other mode of transportation, which he uses to get out to the southwest of the cities into Green Isle, Minnesota. So this vehicle's not used anymore. Strange, right?
Was he looking for something in it?
Well, we don't know. right?
Or was it just a ruse to throw the trail off?
I would love to hear you guys' theories. Let's go ahead and continue playing the video here, Dawson.
On and not seen at that residence again. And then around 8 a.m., the Minneapolis police come and take his roommates. And then there's no SWAT operation until 2 p.m.
Okay, so obviously a lot of questions here. We did go ahead and release that video this weekend of him smashing his vehicle, the window out of that vehicle. Any speculation as to why he was doing that?
I think that he may have been smashing his own window out to make it look like there was auto break-in or some kind of alibi. There's been a lot of auto thefts and auto break-ins in this exact neighborhood.
So 3 hours after Belter allegedly...
But just at that point, 1 second, he knows that the cops have his vehicle, right? So,
right.
Yeah, I don't know what that theory is there. All right, continue on.
Shot and killed the Hortmans. Your security camera records him again that morning. It's 2 hours then after that, that police are there on scene. What's the scene like now here days later in that neighborhood? Are you surprised that this address doesn't seem to be more of a focus of the investigation?
Yes, it's actually life as normal. There's been no police presence at all. There was no police presence while he was on the run. And there's been no visible police coming and taking evidence, searching the house, looking for evidence, going through the garage. And it appears that he was, the house in Minneapolis was the central hub of his crime. He was here 2 days before and hours after committing the crimes.
What then, Adam,
okay,
is
so let's
going
stop
through
there,
your
and that's
mind?
the big key thing. Is it's so clearly like the central hub, right?
Right.
In fact, in many regards, he's been living there. He's got a house. His family's not living there. He's basically rented a room from a buddy, apparently, and you see him come and going in a significant portion surrounding the event that took place. Truth Win says, I would guess his keys for the vehicle are still in the vehicle he left behind, but he never takes his vehicle. That's the thing that's puzzling to me. Maybe it could be backup keys to a residence in Green Isle. I guess that could be something. But I don't think we see him actually reaching in. So it does look like it's staged.
He does go
opens
in
the
a little
door.
bit to the car.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, he goes in there a little bit, and then I think they cut the video off, so whether or not it stops recording or what have you, but it looks like maybe he could have extracted something out of it.
Yeah. So I guess the key thing here to me, and that what's so puzzling and strange, is exactly what this neighbor said. Is the cops show up at 8 o'clock, so they at that point know that he has some connection to that property, right? Once again, you got to put yourself in the position of cops in that moment, right? We always can look at what we know at this stage and go, why didn't they do this? At that moment, they're putting together evidence, 3:30 murder, and plus they're going to go provide aid to the Hortmans and then security of the area before they even get into investigating the whole thing. So they start investigating it, and then they find out that it's Vance Belter, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if the car's registered to that address. I'm guessing not, but somehow they find out about that address, and they send one squad car at 8 a.m. to go pick up the roommates, which is interesting. It's not until 2 o'clock the place gets swatted, which would be, my opinion, probably the warrant to start gathering information. Well, at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, Vance Belter is still at large.
Right. So they could SWAT thinking he's there. Like perhaps he
Right,
went
but
there.
I'm just like, wait a second. It took them that long, and they knew, like from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., 6 hours, they knew that this guy lived in this area. I mean, I don't know what time they got that video, but like this was a place he actually went to that day. And of course, just by, they probably know about Green Isle at that point, but they were probably just looking at like, wait, this is the closest place. It seems bizarre. Now, once again, I am not making any kind of like statement here. I don't have a theory. All I know is it just seems strange that this thing wasn't busted down and that they're not getting, like, according to the neighbor, not gathering information from the garage, because he comes out, I think, with a hammer.
Right.
Assume it came from the garage. It does seem a little bizarre on that. I don't know what to make of it. I'm just highlighting the three strange things that have occurred from a rather strange incident.
When it comes to like swatting a house, do you need a warrant to do that kind of thing?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
You need a warrant, and I'll let the lawyer explain it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would for sure need a warrant, especially to execute something like that. I mean, that's pretty extreme. So a judge would have a pretty high bar to sign off on something like
And
that.
this was happening really early in the morning. Does it, like, would they have to wait until business hours to be able to get a warrant?
No, a
Saturday.
judge is kind of like a doctor, kind of on call.
Oh,
Right. And it's Saturday anyhow, so no business hours.
Crime doesn't rest. But so I think it's kind of interesting. Apparently, there's a text message between Belter and his wife talking about he didn't want to implicate anyone else.
Right.
And so I think that really does kind of speak to maybe he was planning this with his family and other people kind of knew that he was gone off the rails a little bit. And so that
Could also mean that he didn't want to implicate a friend.
right. It could be a co-conspirator.
He also could meant, because I also interpret this way, and we read that on Tuesday, he didn't want to say something in that text message in the current time that he sent it that then could be implicating them. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yep.
I could see it that way too.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, I interpret that as there's not another co-conspirator. I think that likely his wife and maybe some other family members knew that he had some ulterior motive here, but I don't think there was a co-conspirator. I don't think that it was, grander than anything that we see at the surface here. I think for the most part, we can take the surface level facts that's presented to us and understand that this guy probably just lost it. And I think it's awful because a couple of reasons here. Like, we are now in a state in our country and in Minnesota and everywhere else that people's voices aren't being heard. And I think that's an issue when you can't do anything about your current political situation and people are starting to act out. And I think that's the real danger that we need to learn from this, that we need to begin the nuance in discussion. We do not condone violence. If this guy was a right winger or a crazy leftist, it doesn't matter. Action for Liberty, The Truth Hurts, The Truth Expedition, all of us here, we do not condone violence. And this type of behavior is scary, and there's no place for it in Minnesota. So whether or not this guy was, again, on the right or left, it doesn't matter. This type of violence is crazy, and it does speak to the defects in our political system, for sure.
Well, I do appreciate bringing that up because the second strange thing about this, and you could see the media trying to make this a right-wing extremist, I mean, even the show has been hit up by leftists as if our criticism of Hortman has something to do with a lead to a call for violence, which is absolutely ridiculous. We could have policy differences, and I'm not going to pretend like she was some kind of liberty champion because she wasn't.
Right.
I also don't want to speak ill of the dead.
Right.
So I think, let people right now, family and friends, honor the person that they loved. Right? Family and friends. It's interesting how many of those friends apparently were Republicans at the Capitol. That's an interesting story. We'll talk about that next week for sure.
Yeah.
But let them grieve, right? This is a time to grieve, and violence is the answer. With that being said, you do know the state of politics. People want to make it about a right-wing extremist. Of course, we saw like Senator Mike Lee trying to make it about like the socialists. What a dumb comment. I just can't
Right.
believe Mike Lee even did that. But this is the interesting thing is we do actually have record of some connection with Tim Walz on this. Okay. So this is our second strange thing. I don't think Tim Walz knows the guy. I'm just going to say, I think when you're the governor, you're the president of the United States, you're a CEO of a company, you make appointments and there's so many, there's hundreds, there's thousands. You don't know everybody. I assume at some level your people know the person. Okay, right? If you get appointed to the Minnesota Governor's Workforce Development Board, somebody inside your network, your administration, that's the people that they bring on. I assume that's correct. And they brought on Vance Belter, actually re-upped him for another 3-year term after Mark Dane appointed him before. This is 2019 to 2023 or 2022. if we go, and Dawson, let's just do this from scratch. Just pull up Google real quick. Don't pull up Bing. Pull up Google, just in case Bing gives you a different result, because I think
it does seem to be giving me a different result. So.
And then let's just type in, what did we type? Notice of.
Oh, dude, that's so weird.
What's that?
Bing wants so badly to be Chrome, it gives you this Chrome page. When this
funny.
This is it. Okay.
Okay, so notice of appointment Vance Belter. Vance Belter.
Is that right?
So you guys are watching us live here, and you can see number 2 is the website that points to where it would show his appointment, and it is down, and it's been down, at least for our understanding, over 24 hours. I don't know why it's down. It's a matter of record that Vance Belter was appointed by Governor Tim Walz. Do we have that image? Now, there's an image that's going around. We noticed this to validate the image that's going around. We use it in the thumbnail. We believe its authenticity. It's a good forgery if it's not. I'm sorry if someone wants to call us out for using a fake photo. The government is not allowing us to see the real one. You just saw the website. It's taken down. I don't know why it's taken down. Why, as a matter of public record, is it not available? But we do have the image here of the appointment with the seal of the Secretary of State, signed by Governor Walz, signed by Steve Simon. This is I think some of you probably seen it. So this looks to be legit, and it's appointing Vance Belter. If you just zoom in a little bit here, it says, and this is obviously signed by Governor Tim Walz. It says, because of the special trust and confidence I have in your integrity, judgment, and ability, I have appointed and commissioned you to have and hold the office of board or business member, Governor's Workforce Development Board. And this is obviously a notice appointment for Vance Belter. Okay, nowhere can you find, I doubt, anyone in Republican circles who says we have confidence in your integrity, judgment, and ability. Now, once again, do I think Tim Walz knew this guy? Probably not. Low level. Somebody in his administration, I assume, did some vetting. Now, that's a big assumption. Let's go into Dawson, pull up the, let's see here, the A5. Let's go into the minutes of the board. Click on materials there, that tab, and let's scroll down to October of 2022, because he left in January 2023. And so we can look at the minutes of October 2022, and you can see there Dr. Vance Belter is on there. We do not believe at this point that he has an actual PhD or that he graduated from medical school, so or chiropractic, because I think that's considered valid if you're you could go by the designation doctor. Is there another doctor that we're missing on this one? I think those are the 3.
I mean, if you're a PhD in some
that's what I
field,
said first.
like maybe, but
PhD, right? PhD,
right.
or medical doctor or chiropractor. From my understanding, he didn't have any of those things. So I don't know how good the vetting is there, right? And apparently he was going by that. And scroll down there, Dawson, real quick. In October 2022, look at the minutes here, and you can see there in the third item, action item, approval of minutes from the August meeting, and Dr. Vance Belter made a motion to approve the minutes. So, and you could go back and you could look at some of these other minutes we have. He obviously wasn't just some Zoom participant, not active. He was actually active. And to point, if you guys are ever on a board, you can see the people approving their minutes are usually the hot hands at the group, like the ones that really want action, right? And so he's the one, approving the minutes. I think it was the same in the previous meeting in August as well. Okay, so he is on the board, whether Tim Walz knew him or not, or Tim Walz's people knew him, we just don't know, but we would assume somebody inside that orbit knew him. Once again, nobody in the conservative circles that we're aware of knew this guy, okay? Then we get down to the A4, and this was brought up by Jesse. Legistorm shows that there was a woman by the name Jennifer Belter, who worked for Tim Walz from August to December of 2010. So this would have been, I think, at the end of his second term in the U.S. Congress. And a paid staffer. And this is all the information we have of this person as of now. And unfortunately, we just have a showtime at 1 o'clock, but we were digging into this. We did go into our voter data system, and according to the Minnesota voter file that we had, It shows that there are 3 people by the name Jennifer or Jenny Belter, and in our voter system, his wife's name is Jenny Belter. And there's only 3, and I would assume if you worked for a congressional member, you probably also vote. Is that a safe assumption?
I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's ignore the other people that are in like White Pages or any other person finder. I think there's 8. Let's just ignore those for now, because I assume that if you aren't voting, you're probably not working for a congressman. That's an assumption, but either way, it's either 8 or 3 Jenny/Jennifer Belters in the state of Minnesota. But in this case, one of 3 is his wife. What are the odds that, with this connection, that it's another Jenny Belter that worked for it? And we're in the process. We're looking into this more. I think you deserve to get to the bottom. It could be nothing. It could literally, because I even looked, and one of the other people in there is younger. Would have placed her in her young 20s. Seems like a short-term internship. She did live in Mankato at some point, which is in CD1. So I could reasonably believe there is another Jenny Belter that worked for Tim Walz. But it is very interesting, coincidental, that that's the case.
My question would be, does it matter at all? Does it matter even if he is a Walz appointee, even if Jenny Belter was on Walz's thing? Like,
yes.
Does it change?
Here's why it matters, because a statement from somebody in the Walz office says that this was a different Jennifer. That's the only thing we have to go on right now, is we have to believe what Tim Walz is saying to us.
No, I'm talking about just the whole assassination in general.
It might not, Dawson.
I don't think
I don't know where I'm going with it, other than the fact that if media people or people on the left want to associate this guy on the right, at this point, at very least, he was appointed by 2 Democrat governors to serve on a board, which would suggest that at least somebody inside the administration, which is a Democrat, had knowledge of this guy and put trust and faith in this person.
Well,
okay?
I mean, it sounds to me like Minnesota government, Democrat and Republican, like putting trust in each other all the freaking time.
Oh, yeah, right?
So,
I know, exactly.
Like, to me, this is like the pipeline that people go, like the a-holes on Twitter will go down to just say, like, see, this is proof he's a Democrat right here, this certificate.
Yes, and that was the laziness, and I think that was laziness of Mike Lee. And I even dismissed it. I'll be honest with you. I kind of dismissed it, thinking, oh, this is so low level. And then I'm like, let's look into it, because if his wife really was that Jennifer Belter, it means they probably know some of the Walz people, which probably led possibly to why he was appointed by Dayton. I'm sure those people kind of live in the same orbit, and then eventually reappointed by Walz. It's very reasonable to believe that. Once again, probably not very. I mean, Tim Walz might not even know the person directly. Do you think he knows everyone in his congressional staff, especially someone that was only there for 5 months? Probably not. Okay, right. So I don't think there's grand conspiracy there. It just seems to be like, if you're looking for public record of who he was aligned with, right now it's more on the Democrat side.
And it seems shady that they're sort of pulling this material down from the internet, even though we know that Google search result doesn't lie. I mean, it effectively tells you the document that you're looking at anyway.
That's actually what got me on this case. It's like I was dismissing it, and then you take it down, and I'm like, well, why would you take that down?
Right.
It's public record. So at the very least, just keep it up there. We want to see it. So, it's just that bugs the crap out of me.
I think it matters too if there is a grander conspiracy here. If they knew each other, if there was some financial fuckery that went around. I don't know exactly, but it does. Again, if you look at some of the statements this guy made, his religious beliefs, and if you look at some of the folks, the names that were on his list, some of them apparently were affiliated with Planned Parenthood and things like this.
But that's from a list provided to Alpha News that we can't even validate.
Sure,
to be honest with you. So
sure.
That one's a tricky one.
I think it's particularly tricky too. Again, for the state of Minnesota politics. I used to work with GOCRA, the Gun Owners Civil Rights Alliance.
Oh wow, that's old school.
Old school stuff. And so that's when I first had my run-ins with Hortman. She misconstrued every fact that she could. She lied about what guns were, how they operate, etc., just as a general leftist could. But nonetheless, it was incumbent upon us to come up with arguments that would defeat her irrational, statements. And so even at that time, I remember how contentious some of these issues were. You know, we're not talking about whether or not a golf course can go in on some, you know, development. We're talking about guns. And so when we're talking about gun rights with politicians who think you shouldn't have them, it's incredibly contentious. And so I've thought about Hortman a lot over the years and her ability to misconstrue facts as an art form, and how much I don't like her politics for that reason. Even during those times, I knew as a person that I didn't want to be threatening with my politics. I didn't want to say, you know, these are my guns and, you know, come and take it, even though we do say that. But I'm not going to say that right in front of her.
Well, I do think there's something to be said that it's good for politicians to have a healthy fear of the population.
Right. I agree.
To stop them from being tyrannical.
For sure.
But what's that?
I said maybe not this much.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right.
Like, but then it's like, but then you take it to this extreme.
So to have this actually happen to her, which is, you know, to me a nightmare scenario, some dude showing up with a frickin' whatever Freddy Krueger mask on effectively, or a Jason mask on or whatever. And what was the one, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Whatever, you wear some mask just like that.
Well, it was just an old man mask. That's what it was.
Right, dude. It's like out of a horror movie though. So I feel really, really awful for Hortman, her family, and I think that this kind of leads us into our next discussion. Like, Vance Belter was in no eminent danger from Melissa Hortman, and he had no business taking these people out. And I think it's the eminent danger aspect of this that is lost here. You can't just go and you know, act out politically like this. I just want to say we condone this type of violence, and we need to inject nuance and truth in these discussions.
Yeah, in many regards, and this is actually, you know, why I do not cede any ground to politicians that want to take away my right to keep and bear arms, which, by the way, is for tyrannical government. Right. That's what the Second Amendment is for. But it's also personally to protect my family from people like this that would come to my home and cause harm. And at least in Minnesota, you have the ability to defend yourself in your home. That's about the only place you could do it in Minnesota, just so you know. In fact, if you want to learn more about this, I do have a class on it, Elite Guardian, which is tomorrow. So if you guys are interested, it's the Minnesota Permit to Carry class. But it's like, you can actually protect your household from anyone that is committing a felony act, which is basically entering your home unwanted. And what's up, Dawson?
I have a question for you. As a licensed gun instructor type of thing and a prepper, what would you have done in the situation where maybe masked man, you can't tell, comes to your house at 2 a.m? What's your plan?
Oh, okay. I did forget. It sucked. I forgot to mention this on the show last week. The Brooklyn Park chief of police was asked this question in the press scrum the other day. And his answer was, you always can call 911 to confirm that the person at your door is law enforcement. Great advice. 100% what you should do. Under no circumstance would I even entertain opening that door or have someone from my family opening a door or someone banging on the door, even if they say they're the police in the middle of the night. That's absolutely ridiculous, right? And if they bust through that door, it's not going to go well for them. I'll just put it that way. So this is an argument for why you do need to take your own security and own protection into your own hands. And guns are the best method of protecting yourself, especially with the person that has guns. Okay, so speaking of the Hortman house, that leads us to the third strange thing about the Minnesota political assassination. And by the way, if I'm missing any, I would love to hear what you guys have to say, because I think I know a lot about this case already, and maybe I'm missing one. But this was the third most recent one. We learned the story yesterday morning. The house of Melissa Hortman was broken into. This is according to KSTP. I first saw it, and maybe this was the person that broke it, was KSTP. A person broke into Minnesota House Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman's home days after she and her husband Mark were assassinated there, Brooklyn Park Police said on Wednesday. The break-in happened overnight, but authorities weren't alerted to the incident until 8 a.m. Wednesday morning. According to the Brooklyn Park Police Department, the windows of the home were boarded up with plywood after investigators had processed the scene for evidence. Law enforcement turned the home back over to the family and stationed police cameras outside. Authorities say the suspect pried off one of those plywood boards on the backside of the house facing the Edinburgh golf course, broke a window, and went inside. And then I guess we got an image of, yeah, there you go. You got the image of it.
I'm surprised there's no crowbar sticking out of that and a senator with a face mask.
You know, people are
I was
getting
just gonna
shamed
say.
for making that conclusion on Twitter right now. Far be it for us to pop a joke about how a senator entered a home the same exact way in Detroit Lakes. Allegedly. When will that trial ever happen? Jeff Olenek was a teacher at Melissa Hortman's high school many years ago and later became a neighbor to her and her husband. It's absolutely ridiculous, this quote, that people can't honor their memory and stay away and pay some respect. Those people have no respect. The Hortmans were murdered early Saturday morning when investigators believe it was a targeted political assassination. I'm not going to read that because you know what these you already know that story. Sarah Abusinena, I don't even know how to read that name. Abusinena said the day before the break-in, she and other neighbors cleaned up outside the Hortman home, cutting the grass and tending to the gardens that Melissa Hortman loved. Isn't that just a Minnesota thing to do? I love it.
Yeah.
We all treat each other like brothers and sisters. She said we were all family. She took care of us growing up. Melissa was a sweet neighbor. She was the light of the neighborhood. Losing her and Mark is just undeniable. The break-in remains under investigation. Okay, and then they're asking, by the way, just so you guys know, in case you're up in that area, neighbors are asked to check their cameras for any footage that might have captured the suspect. This didn't say it, but we've read reports that nothing of value was taken from the home. In fact, many valuables were already taken from the home from family, but nothing was stolen that was apparent to law enforcement or family. What am I saying something here? I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying I think it's very obviously, or very, very likely, a opportunistic criminal that thought there was a vacant home that they could get in and steal some stuff.
Yeah, it could be that they're looking for, things of value. And even then, I think there's going to be some things that would be worth taking. Like if you're going to go through all the trouble, you're probably going to take some things, I would imagine. Could also just be weird people kind of going in like haunted house style, like wanting to see the crime scene. Or if there's a conspiracy here, they were looking for documents or paper trail or something like that, which I think is not very likely. But nonetheless, it's another kind of strange piece of the puzzle.
TA 1022 says, was someone involved cleaning up some forgotten evidence? Why were there not cameras on the back of the house? Apparently there was a camera. I thought I'd seen that beforehand. Although once again, the way that reporting works is, you get false reports from the front end of a story as it breaks. So, what is the true story here behind it? I don't know. You just assume a crime scene maybe is a little bit more secure. And apparently it wasn't. Someone could break into the window and they didn't steal anything. So those are three. I'm not saying anything here, just FYI. I do think the official narrative is plausible. These are three strange things that we see from it. Brad Ganser says hoodlums most likely. Yes, that does seem very, very probable that just someone was opportunistic. Now, we do still have the story we broke on Monday that had somebody in the legislature tell me that law enforcement was looking at another individual as a person of interest. I don't know what the details are of Jenny Belter right now. She was briefly detained. Seemed like it was with family. Is she back on her way? Is she heading to Canada? I don't know that story. And the other guy, was it Todd that worked for the security company? I think it was a Praetorian Guard Services or something like that. Don't know anything about that guy, which was Jesse and I couldn't figure out if it was his brother or cousin. I don't remember if we came to the conclusion on that. Well, RT 1967 doesn't make sense to have a camera on the front of the house instead of the back. Well, and that's assuming I don't know. I don't know what the standard is if they place cameras there.
The irony here isn't really lost on me. I mean, think about when you have people on the left who are opposed to gun control. I doubt Hortman's husband was allowed to pack. If they didn't have any weapons in the premises, it's, a safe zone for assassins, right? I mean, if you know that Hortman is so opposed to guns, you could walk in there without any issues. And I think that's, again, really tragic. the good guy with the gun argument here works. I wish that they could have confronted this guy. I think it's really important to understand that people in Minnesota who have carry permits are the most law-abiding class of citizen. If you have your carry permit, you don't want to lose that privilege. You're a sheepdog, and you have a huge responsibility to your neighbors and to your citizens and to society. We should be an armed population. So do take Jake's class. I mean, I'm serious. Take a permit to carry class.
What a great ad read
For sure,
there.
take a
Actually,
carry
that's a
class.
personal testimony because you actually took mine when
I
you
did.
renewed.
I've
so there you
taken
go.
3 of them, and Jake's was the best. So I'm not just saying that.
Oh, geez,
so.
shucks.
It's true.
Oh, shucks.
Oh, there we go. Getting all warm over here.
Well,
on
let's
the
go to
tree
this next segment, which is actually brought to you by John Galt Mortgage Company. You're going to go to johngaltmortgage.com, or you could go to eliteguardianmn.com. I don't know why I'm so afraid to advertise my own other company. Like, what? Of course I could do that on my own show.
Do it.
EliteGuardianMN.com. Yeah, I do have a class tomorrow. But this is brought to you by John Galt Mortgage Company. You can go to johngaltmortgage.com. If you're buying a home, give them a chance of financing that home. Otherwise, check them out on Facebook or X. Okay, so one last nugget on Vance Belter. This is according to the New York Post. Accused Minnesota assassin Vance Belter expressed growing concern that the U.S. was turning against Israel years before Evil Tech. You got a rumble rant there, Gunnar.
Ooh, here we go. O'Bannon. It is insane that gun control advocates want to limit lawmakers from carrying at the Capitol. Yeah, for sure. I think that it should be mandatory that schools have a certain percentage of people that are carrying. But absolutely, we should be free to carry whenever and wherever we want to.
Okay, so getting back to this article in New York Post, accused Minnesota assassin Vance Belter expressed fears the U.S. was, quote, turning against Israel years before he allegedly carried out a sickening political assassination, a former work acquaintance claimed. Belter, 57, appeared to become increasingly frustrated by society in the years leading up to the twisted attack and had warned that the U.S. was losing its Judaic Christian foundations. Charlie Kellich, CEO of a web design firm commissioned by Belter, told ABC News. Kellich's firm, J-Town, was chosen by Belter because they are Jerusalem-based and he wanted to show support for Israel, he said, and that he worked with Belter for more than a decade doing web design for various projects. While working on a concept for a book Belter had written called Revelformation, Kellich said that the accused assassin said American leadership is, quote, slowly turning against Israel. Quote, I am very concerned that the leadership in the U.S. is slowly turning against Israel because we are losing our Judeo-Christian foundations that was, and it's misspelled, once very strong. He wrote in a PowerPoint presentation he sent to Kellich in September 2017 about Revelformation. Can't even say that word. Who writes a book that you can't even say the word? Well, a crazy person, right? This guy's a crazy person. So there you go. That I'm guessing the New York Post actually got a hold of that PowerPoint slide, and so we're reading that verbatim.
So Marty 1967 says that I think they got the wrong person. The person with the mask on is not the person they arrested by 40 pounds and a few inches. Ooh, maybe.
I don't see that
know.
one.
Right.
I think people wearing different things can be easily viewed, fluctuating a weight. Dawson, can we just pull? I'll give you a good example. Let me put that one to rest here.
And if it was someone else, they would have shot that dude in the field when they found him to not allow him to say, you know, it wasn't me or what have you. So, I mean, I'm open to anything here.
I think I figured out the best. He can't be a Republican. He's seen alone at night outside wearing a mask. There's no way.
But it didn't.
Thank you. I took this long to think of that.
I thought your joke was gonna be it can't be Republican. He was outside in Minneapolis at night.
I mean that fits too. Yeah.
Oh, we got a new person, LK to live. Lots of people have Ring cameras to see who's at the front door to see who's stealing Amazon packages. They're not really using the camera as an overall security measure, right?
They should be.
Yeah, luckily.
That's such an easy way to secure your home. Well, not secure it all the way, but like have security cameras pointing outwards. It's it's really helpful.
Yes, and God, I feel like a promotion for my school tomorrow. In that class tomorrow, I will be emphasizing the portion on home security, which is a big segment of it. So very good point. And in Minneapolis, of all places, yes, you need that camera for Amazon packages. Go to A7 Dawson. This is the official court documents. I want to tell you why I don't really put much weight into it was a different person. Scroll down, you'll see the camera footage at U.S. Bank where he's withdrawing $2,200 cash right there. If you could zoom in a little bit, you could clearly see. I don't think anyone's going to deny that this is the same person. It's just different angles. And when you look at the guy on the left to the guy on the right, you see the guy on the right actually seems relatively slender, looking at the face, looking below the waistline, and it just appears to be like a little bit more of a puffy coat. But when you look at the same guy on the left, it does look like he's like 40 more pounds. And it just really clearly shows on the right, he's got a very heavy set jacket on or coat on, which is interesting. What was the temperature? I was up in the Boundary Watch. What was the temperature Saturday morning? It's a heavy coat.
Oh, I don't think it was too bad, but yeah.
Wasn't it rainy? I don't remember off the top of my head either.
I thought the rain was done by then. Do we have another new person who's in charge of scrubbing the internet? Tom Milliklin. Well, I mean, it's under the care of Secretary of State. So, yeah. I actually thought about calling them live on air. So I figured they probably wouldn't get back to us quickly. So maybe we'll do that later. But yeah, I'm curious. Why is that not online right now? It seems like it should just be there, right? Mark says, Dawson is on fire. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So he was upset about the U.S. losing support for Israel. Okay.
Here we go.
So he's one of you, Dawson. Now, let's get into Tucker versus Cruz. Okay, this is really why I had you on the show here today, Gunnar. I think of all your studies, how do you describe it? Like the Abrahamic religions and how that leads to.
Okay, so my area of study is Abrahamic eschatology, and it compares Judaism, Christianity, and Islam in their end time endeavors, and how effectively, if you look at how their eschatologies work together and clash, it results in a Mexican standoff. You can Google that. It's not racist. It's a term of art. That means everyone's going to have a gun to each other's head and nobody wins. That's what we're seeing unfold right now.
Thanks for clarifying. I was very triggered by you saying Mexican standoff.
No worries.
Okay, so before we get into what I think was the conversation that needed to happen, and I'm actually glad not only Tucker Carlson got the interview and published the interview, but Ted Cruz was willing to stay there for the whole interview, even though I think Ted Cruz looked bad in a lot of places, and so did Tucker, by the way. Mm-hmm. And even Tucker is very self-aware because he apologized. He realized he did some stupid things on it, but Ted, for what it's worth, was defending a position he believed. I thought he defended it very poorly in a lot of places, and I think it was very revealing. But I do appreciate the fact that the right has that conversation, because the left seems to be unified over really bad things, and the right can actually have adult conversations. Before we get into that, President Trump just made a statement through his press secretary. This is the B1 Dawson. Let's get into what Trump's latest statement is on Iran.
Regarding the ongoing situation in Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision-making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today.
Okay, so that's the statement being made. That's the issue at hand. Honest to God, I get out of the Boundary Wires on Sunday, and I think that's the story that's going to be blowing up my phone. Obviously, it was a little different, but that story still is really relevant. I would not consider myself MAGA. I am a liberty Republican, libertarian type. I got brought back into politics by Ron Paul in 2012, right? After leaving it, just being disenfranchised by the con artists and the Republicans who wanted to bail out Wall Street in the endless wars, right? So I predate MAGA, but I've always loved MAGA people. I think they have the right heart. I think they got a lot of the right issues. I think Trump is a populist. He's not a deeply held libertarian, principled conservative, and whatever you want to say. I think I'm in the MAGA aligned world.
Right.
Certainly with this show. We have MAGA Jesse on the show. I don't have to agree with MAGA Jesse on everything. I want to give him a platform to talk, right? MAGA Jesse can be on the show. It almost looks funny, like when we bring up these issues, those are the days that Jesse comes down with like some sickness or something. Like, that's the conspiracy right there.
Yeah,
Jake is
like, oh, I'm
silencing
dodging
Jesse.
this one.
I know.
You know?
I thought when Jesse called in sick this morning, I'm like, oh, son of a bitch. Now they're going to speculate, oh, well, sure, Jesse doesn't get to stand up for himself. So I feel like I'm in that MAGA-aligned world, the part of the broad coalition, which is why Trump, the reason Trump won in 2024 was not Elon Musk, although I would say Elon Musk helped, definitely, right? You can't deny that. But it was the coalition he built, which Musk is a part of.
Musk.
But
Tucker.
I mean, you can't tell me like getting Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn and the UFC and even people in Silicon Valley and the Maha world.
Kennedy and Gabbard.
RFK Jr. made an impact on it. Do you think there's a reason they were recording RFK the whole time? To go to the Libertarian Convention. That should have been below Trump, and he went to it because he needed to build a coalition to win. That's why Trump won in 2024, and we saw it here, and that's why we predicted it. And it wasn't a small win. It was all 7 battleground states. That's why Donald Trump won. He built a coalition, and I feel like we're part of that coalition. And I had very big differences with Trump on some monumental things, including the debt ceiling and deficit spending and the COVID vaccine, right? Okay, but I definitely... And credit where it's due, Trump's closed the border in a great deal. And Trump, and this was brought up, I was talking to my dad last night, religious freedom seems much more protected these days, and the right to free speech is much more protected. Yep. And we know that was a threat under Walz, Kamala. So those are good on Trump, right? Terrible on the budget. We'll see if they get good on that. But boy, they came out swinging really bad on that one. And this is the other thing that I voted for Trump on is like no more forever wars. And here you just heard the President of the United States acting as if he unilaterally can decide if it's a go to war with another country. One of the most fundamental powers of the U.S. Congress is to declare war. You can't give that ability to the President of the United States because he's a king if he can both declare war and go fight it as a commander-in-chief. The founders were very clear that Congress declares wars and the commander-in-chief is the president.
And the irony that Congress is trying to block him from doing this now. You know what I mean? They shouldn't have to do that, but at least,
right.
We got Massey and others, even McCollum from our district is signing on. So, again, we don't see eye to eye with everyone all the time, but at times we do. I'm pleased with McCollum on that point.
Marty 1967 says, did you see the stuff about China making fake belts? Honestly, I just ignored that. I totally ignored that story. It's like, what an interesting time for them to drop that story. Like, you want us going over here and worrying about like this story? Like right now, nope. Like, we're not going to re-adjudicate 2020, right? It is what it is. We're already one election cycle past it. I am not taking that red meat right now. No, I'm staying focused on this issue. And before we get into the Cruz and Tucker thing, I'm just going to say, isn't this a wonderful thing right now that the MAGA universe is not united? Because Trump is doing something that I literally think will tear apart his coalition. And he will have a failed presidency if he actually engages in war with Iran. Yep. Which, in the way I would define that, is so large scale where we actually putting boots on the ground. Right. And a long-term commitment. I would definitely be out of that coalition in a heartbeat. I am so against it. I just do not want to see this, and we have to learn from the past.
Is that like you said, the breaking point is the boots on the ground thing? Like, is like selling them weapons or anything like that considered? That's not boots on the ground, but
that's the gray area. It's a very good point. I haven't really thought how to define it.
Because the only reason I ask is because I saw a story about like airplanes and ships already being sent over to the Middle East. I don't think it was for war necessarily, but I was seeing that and was just curious.
Yeah, well, obviously posturing your forces could also be just a defensive thing. True Seeker, it's extremely important about elections, Jake. I am so sorry the way I phrased that. I'm not trying to undermine that story. I'm just saying what an interesting thing that the FBI now releases a story. You see what I'm saying? I feel like it's like a diversion to get us focused on something
See,
that
if they really want to divert us, release the Epstein files. There you go. That's how you
yeah,
get
that's how you guess. Guess
how you
what? They're
get
not
it.
going to do it.
Yeah, because I
another
think that
problem I got
if
with
anything,
Trump.
that would just likely go again against the war in Iran. If
Yes,
we,
it would very much so.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because of what we anticipate those would have, yes, it would
Right.
really derail that movement real quick.
Right.
Okay, this is you guys have probably seen this. This was a little teaser that was brought up, but I want to give you my thoughts. I want to get your thoughts on this, Gunnar. This was a teaser. This would be 2 Dawson. Tucker Carlson put out on Tuesday night his interview with Ted Cruz. Go ahead and play it.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's,
because,
it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is
because
that
if
relevant?
you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and
What percent?
predominantly Shia. Okay, this is cute.
It's not
Okay.
even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
Okay,
actually
I
the
am not
country...
the Tucker Carlson
but
expert on Iran.
You're a
who
senator
says,
who's calling for the
you're one who
overthrow of the
claims-
government,
You're the one
and
who
you don't know
claims
anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump.
No,
You're the
I'm
one
not saying that.
who can't figure out
I'm
if it was a
saying
good
you don't
idea to kill
believe-
General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if
Okay,
you really
we're
believe that...
carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive
No,
capacity.
we're not
at all.
bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting
This is high
Israel. as their-
stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay. O'Bannon says Tucker's a dick on this one. Yes, he is. And I got to admit, Tucker, in his own right, apologized at least 2 times in an interview. You can go watch this 2 hours. It's worth watching.
It is.
He apologized at least twice when he realized, and Ted kind of alerted him to it, that he is kind of being a dick. Like that was a little unfair. What's the population size? Now, Ted Cruz didn't offer a even posit an idea. If he said 80 million, is anyone going to come after him? Like,
No.
oh, you're wrong by 10 million.
Right.
Like, I don't know what the population of the United States is. Is it 330 million, 340 million? It's somewhere in there, right? We don't.
Right.
I don't know exactly what it is. I can roughly guess what it is. So it's like, I think there's some leeway there. I think he's trying to play a fast one on him. And unfortunately, you kind of understand why it got that level when you watch the whole interview. But the important one was he gets Ted Cruz off his game, and then you hear the narrative is so bizarre there
Right.
in the sense that, wait, we attacked Iran. Well, this is news to us.
That's the whole reason why he was pestering him with those dumb, like, what's the population, what's the ethnic makeup, what's going on over there? And he's like, well, I know exactly what's going on over there. We're bombing them. And it's like, that's how you get him off his game. Tucker, I
You
don't
think that was a setup, huh?
I don't like Tucker Carlson for a number of reasons, but
What's wrong? Why would you not like Tucker?
me, Mr. Israel,
He's so
over
bizarre.
here,
He's such a bizarre guy, but he's likable, and he goes places other journalists don't go, which I like and appreciate.
He's got his issues, but he is a journalist, and this is showing that off. Even
Yeah.
people on the left are
Right.
like, whoa, like he can be a journalist when he wants to be.
I think it's that mask off moment where you're understanding that the rationale and reasoning is void. And I think it's not just the gotchas, it's demonstrating you lack an overall understanding of Iran, and yet you're still calling for the overthrow.
That's
and I think when you have Trump saying, oh, we're negotiating, and then Israel strikes, and Trump says, well, he was aware of the strikes, that he was effectively supporting them. Well, yeah, okay. Trump is playing bad cop, or good cop, rather, to Bibi's bad cop. And we are assisting Israel with intelligence. And anytime errant missiles go towards Israel, it's the Iron Dome and our hardware that's going to shoot these missiles down. So we are certainly assisting Israel in their endeavors. How far we get into this, we shall see.
Okay, so I want to play one other clip, and then I want to get into what I think the biggest misstep by Ted Cruz is supposed biblical justification, which I think is atrocious, what he said. But I do think it's relevant because I think a lot of people go down that area, and then we can have a discussion on it. Let's go to the B4, Dustin. I got a timestamp here because this kind of leads into where this was going with Ted Cruz. I just never have seen this before. Someone on the right pressed on the relationship with AIPAC. As we have brought up many times on this show. Actually, Dawson, just real quick, pull up a window, look up AIPAC, and if you need to understand, I know we've talked about this with Royce White, AIPAC, yeah, just click on that there, and they put somewhere where they support, I think it's right on the front page, scroll down here, keep going. I mean, Cruz can't even admit that they coordinate with like the country of of Israel. I mean, they literally have Benjamin Netanyahu on the front. Go up. Maybe it's on the about. Oh, go to see where it says AIPAC PAC. Tab. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, click on that. I think this is the one that shows, like they support the top three. Here you go. Yeah, look at that list of people. The top three Republicans, top three Democrats.
What does it mean? They support them. Does that mean like?
Oh, money.
Oh, they give
straight
them money?
Up. Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Ted Cruz gets millions of dollars from AIPAC. Mm-hmm. Now what that means is probably a couple things. AIPAC probably has a pool of money and they have the ability to donate to a candidate directly. But more likely, and he even admits on this interview, they throw fundraisers for him. And he kind of like acts. He kind of belittles it like it's not that big of a deal. But yes, it is a big deal because they call their donors, they show up, and then they donate directly to the candidates. And to the point, Ted Cruz, and you could just Google this real quick, how much, let's look up how much Tom Emmer receives from AIPAC. Let's look, I'm kind of curious. I'm guessing it's at least hundreds of thousands. You know, Ted Cruz is going to need more because, you know, he's a senator in a big state, so those races cost a little bit more money. Okay, so there you go. Google. I can't even read that. Dust. Can you scroll up just a little bit? What does it say? 303,000.
I can't. 303,000.
Has received in AIPAC donations.
Klobuchar only got a third of that. Come on.
She must not love Israel as much as Tom Emmer. So there you go. Yeah, like I think it's valid to question. Well, that's the whole reason we have campaign finance disclosure laws, is so that we know who's influencing our politicians.
Right.
O'Ban says, now Dawson is being a dick.
I just don't like Tucker Carlson. I don't know what to tell you.
What's wrong with Tucker?
I don't like his laugh, first of all.
Well, his laugh is terrible, but yeah. So the guy can be a little nerdy at times. Big whoop.
I think it's a defense mechanism, for sure.
The laugh?
The laugh is a defense mechanism, and it's used as like a tool of rhetoric to keep the conversation going in a way that he wants it to, and it throws the other person off. So, it's off-putting. It's probably not the best way to interview someone. I'm glad he didn't do that when he interviewed Putin. But there are things that Ted Cruz says here which are laughable.
Could you imagine if Ted Cruz, or not Ted Cruz, if who are we talking about right now? Tucker Carlson, thank you, laughed like that in front of Putin.
Oh, for sure. In that big room, it would echo like
terrifying.
Crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Scary.
Have you ever seen, what's the comedian? Tyler Fisher's impression of Tucker Carlson? Look it up real quick. Okay. Sorry.
We might have to bring that up. Yeah, there we go.
What was the name?
Tyler Fisher. I think it's Fischer. Just say Tyler Fisher impression Tucker. Oh, it's funny. I think it's a stand-up where he's like asking people who should be running mates with Trump.
I hated Tucker when I saw him interview Jon Stewart. It's like Jon Stewart went on the show and was like, "Hey, can you, the Iraq War is BS, and you're lying to all the people through Fox News." And at that time, Tucker was rocking a bow tie. And I remember just how
that was his thing,
utterly despicable he was in that. But to see him turn a 180 and come to the truth, that's why I was saying, like, the truth hurts, but the door is always open. You know, if we see someone in earnest make that logical chain of custody where they change their opinion, welcome aboard to the truth.
Well, and I said this on the show so many times. I can't believe Tucker is saying the things he is and still employed by Fox News, and I love it.
Right.
So yes, I agree with Crucified. It's a little shallow for us to even like go after his laugh, but I believe Tucker's got a sense of humor. Let's look up the Tyler Fisher thing. It's probably in that first one. Best impressions. Is there one? Well, he doesn't have him on that. Scroll down. Let's see here. Is there one? Oh yeah, there it is. Click on that.
This one?
Trump's cabinet.
Oh, this one.
Yeah.
Well, we have a new administration.
Very
Trump
funny,
is building
very
a
talented.
wild coalition of some of the most talented autistic billionaires in this country. I'm telling you, even
Just
if you
fast
don't
forward
like
a
them,
little bit.
Puerto Rican jokes, friendliness or something. It's like, well, you know, clean your damn room before you launch a nuke. It's like, well, my pronouns are fuck you. So
His George Peterson impression is great.
MSNBC. I own MSNBC now, so it's just 24 hours of rocket launch videos.
Elon
So there you
impression.
go.
Keep going.
Trump just picture and zoom in. He's like, please don't put this on the fucking internet. Jesus Christ.
RFK, keep going.
We're at war with North Korea. They got a hold of our nuclear codes because we were
Shapiro.
terrible at protecting our online data. That's why I use.
Kidding me? Day one. I think they should put him in charge of the wall. He's got that pillow factory. He
Keep
can
going.
finish that wall real quick. Wall. My wall is made with 100% Giza cotton, soft as and get the fuck out of my country.
It's not on that. Oh, shoot. I know I saw it. I was looking it up the other day. He's got the laugh down so well. Whatever. You guys can check it out on your own. We're getting so deviated from important stuff here because, quite frankly, you're right. The laugh isn't that important. So this is... okay, we were going back to the before, Dustin. This is getting pressed on AIPAC, its relationship. And this is where I think Ted Cruz makes... Well, I really dislike what he does here because it's lazy and I'm not going to ignore the fact that there's a rise in anti-Semitism on the left and unfortunately on the right. The Jews are not to blame on all this kind of stuff. That is ridiculous. That is the same kind of stupid thinking that racists have, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that does happen. I'm not ignoring that, but there are legitimate policy issues with whether it's Zionism, whether it's the state of Israel, whether it's just Benjamin Netanyahu. There are real, legitimate policy issues that people have, and asking those questions, or on AIPAC, asking those questions does not mean you're an anti-Semite. So watch what Ted Cruz has to say here. Let's go ahead and play it.
It's a simple question. Are AIPAC's goals shaped by the goals of the Israeli government? And I'm just going to ask you a question straightforwardly. And if you say no, I think we both know that's not true.
Hey, are they shaped by?
Are they coordinating with the Israeli government?
Are they talking with them? Yes. Is Israel directing them? You want to talk about FARA, the law on lobbying on behalf of someone?
Yeah.
It is, I hire you and you lobby on behalf of me. I direct you. Does Israel direct AIPAC? No, they're not lobbying on behalf of them. Do they care about them? Yes, but...
Or do you think that it's just interesting because what you're now describing in a very defensive way, I will say, is foreign influence over our politics?
No.
And you began, and it's so transparently obvious to everybody. I don't know why you would be embarrassed of it. You've said that you are sincerely for Israel. I believe you. I don't think you have some weird agenda. You seem to be sincere.
By the way, Tucker, it's a very weird thing. The obsession with Israel. When we're talking about foreign countries,
it's hardly an obsession.
You're not talking about Chinese. You're not talking about Japanese. You're not talking about the Brits. You're not talking about the French. The question: what about the Jews? What about the Jews?
Oh, I'm an anti-Semite now.
Senator, you're asking the questions, Tucker.
You're
asking why are the Jews controlling our foreign policy?
Senator,
that's what you just asked.
Hardly saying that, and I have.
That is exactly what you just said.
Well, actually, I can speak for myself and tell you what I am saying.
Good.
On behalf not simply of myself, but on my many Jewish friends who would have the same questions. Which is to what extent, and it's interesting you're trying to derail my questions by calling me an anti-Semite, which you are.
I did not.
Of course you are. And rather than be honorable enough to say it right to my face, you are in a sleazy feline way implying it, or just asking questions about the Jews. I'm not asking questions about the Jews. I have There's nothing to do with Jews or Judaism. It has to do with foreign government.
Isn't Israel controlling our foreign policy? That's not about the Jews.
You said, I'm asking
And by the way, you're the one that just called me, I think, a sleazy feline. So let's be clear.
It's sleazy to imply that I'm an anti-Semite, which you just did.
No, I just said, why is that the only question you're asking? You answer it. Give me another reason. If you're not an anti-Semite, give me another reason why the obsession is Israel.
I am in no sense obsessed with Israel. We are on the brink of war with Iran. And so these are valid questions.
But you're not asking about Iran.
Okay, let's stop it there. Now, Dawson, you as a Jewish person, not ethnically, but come to the religion at a young age, what do you think of Ted Cruz there? Like how he's operating?
So he kind of falls into a trap that a lot of people fall into, especially when it comes to like younger people. It's like calling somebody, it's just like someone on the left saying, oh, you're wearing a certain hairstyle, that means you're racist and you hate black people. You know, it's missing the missing the forest for the trees or something? Like there's a saying for it, I can't remember, but it's kind of just like, I'm skirting around this by just calling you a name. Now, is it possible that Tucker thinks that like, oh, the top leaders of Israel are all Jewish? Probably not, but anybody could think that.
Well, they are Jewish, right? Right. That is their ethnicity and religion.
It's one of those things with Israel. Every single piece of Israeli discourse comes down like it's just ingrained into it that there's a lot of Jews in Israel, right? It's
predominantly Jews in Israel, right? Predominantly, it's a Jewish state.
Yeah.
It's just that it's so disingenuous of him, and it's lazy. Ted Cruz is no dummy. He was like a legit debate champion at Harvard, right?
Right. He's argued in front of the Supreme Court.
Yes. I mean, he's a United States senator. We're not talking about some guy that's not had his time under the he was on the presidential debate stage. He was the last person in 2016 to possibly beat Trump. This is a guy that's been at the highest level of debates. And he went to that laziness, which is unfortunate because it's like, and this is where you and I enter the equation, Gunnar, is like, we have legitimate criticisms of not just Israeli policy and decisions, but Benjamin Netanyahu in particular, who I do not think is a good individual, and I would say he's a war criminal. I think he's a bloodthirsty war criminal.
Right.
And I think he's a liar. In fact, I know he's a liar because he argued in front of our Congress in 2003 that Saddam Hussein was making or was developing weapons of mass destruction to try to get us into war. And he wasn't even the prime minister of Israel then. That was Ariel Sharon.
He's been selling wars to us for 25, 30 years.
Right.
Yeah, on false pretenses.
And that means nothing to my Jewish friends and acquaintances, to Dawson here. It means nothing. I love all people. I think you should be judged by the content of your character, not by the color of your skin or by
what book you read.
Yeah, what book you read or that ethnicity. I think you should be judged by your actions, and the actions of some of the people in the top of Israel are very terrible.
Right. And
people around AIPAC, very terrible. But it's not anti-Semitic, and it's so lazy and so wrong for them to do that. You know, and I guess maybe we just haven't reached a level where we get that thing, but you see it happening, and Tucker gets it. Like, literally, you got a United States senator inferring that he's anti-Semitic with no evidence other than the fact, in fact, in his regard, as a journalist, as an American citizen, asking for clarification on these things. And then he gets the accusation. And that's shame on Ted Cruz. Okay, now this is where I really want your opinion on. The thing that actually bothers me maybe the most, but it's very revealing, is Ted Cruz's justification why he supports Israel, the modern state of Israel. I shouldn't even say it that way. Of course, I even support the modern state of Israel. It's a sovereign country that you have every right to exist.
Right.
And in many regards, it's the most westernized democracy over in that region. So, yes, I'm more sympathetic. You think I like the Iranian government more, a theocratic Muslim country? No freaking way. We got a rumble rant from O'Bannon.
So Cruz can be bloviatingly sick like Wednesday Walter.
Ooh, fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I did see Walter on Twitter was defending basically Ted Cruz. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. All right, the B3. This is the biblical justification that Ted Cruz tries pushing on Tucker. Let's watch this.
Growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of it, it says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my... You pull out the phone and use the Google.
It's in Genesis, but... So you're quoting a Bible phrase. You don't have context for it, and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology? I'm confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two...
Hold on. Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And what
does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But what, hold on, define Israel. This is important.
Right.
Are you kidding?
It's actually very important.
This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country.
I don't think he knows what it means in the biblical context, does he?
So that's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
And so is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yet nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
They're the descendants
God's
of
referring
Abraham.
to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
And by the way, it's not run by Benjamin Netanyahu as a dictator. It's a democratic country that elected.
He's the prime minister.
Right.
What?
But just like, America is the country run by Donald Trump. No, actually, the American people elected Donald Trump. The same principle
This is
there.
silly. I'm talking about the political entity of modern Israel.
Yes, and that is
You
that is
believe
Israel.
that's what God was talking about in Genesis.
I do, but
that country's existed since when?
For thousands of years. Now, there was a time when it didn't exist, and then it was recreated just over 70 years ago.
I'm saying, I think most people understand that line in Genesis to refer to the Jewish people, God's chosen people.
That's not what it says.
Okay, Israel, but you don't even know where in the Bible it is.
Dude, even Jewish people don't think what Ted Cruz is saying there. We know it's not the modern day boundaries of Israel. It's the people.
Right.
Yes.
Gross.
Right. It's Genesis 12:3, and it refers to Abraham. It doesn't mention Israel at all, and it is regurgitated ad nauseum by the evangelicals in this country as a justification to bomb whoever we want. And that's not the Jesus that I grew up knowing. Like, this to me is crazy. In Luke 6, Jesus instructed his followers to bless those who curse you. Now, I'm not saying, again, if you're in imminent danger, not to attack someone or defend yourself. But that's not what we're seeing in this situation. We're not seeing Israel in imminent danger from Iran.
I want to get into that, so don't let me forget about the imminent danger, because I think that's important.
Yep.
Should we just bring up Genesis chapter 12, I think it was 2:3, isn't it?
12, 3.
Even when I Google it, you do see different versions. So,
I busted out my Jewish study Bible.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can I pull it up from the Torah?
Right,
I like that
it's
version
in the
better.
Torah is obviously where it's most credible, and again, it doesn't mention Israel at all.
Yeah, and I did see a version. I'm not seeing it when I pull it up. Maybe it's 12:2.
Yo, Chabad.org, my favorite.
I think there's a lot.
Oh, what? We're going Jewish here? This is a Christian show.
Jeez,
Doug. Keep going
hey,
down.
let's go to the source, though.
All right, 12:2.
I don't want
and I will
King
make
James's
you into a
hands
great
in this.
nation, and I will bless you, and I will aggrandize your name, and you shall be a blessing. So even there, it doesn't even say Israel, right?
Right.
So that's interesting too, right?
Right.
He's referring to, obviously, the people of Abraham. Oh, it says right there. And the Lord said to Abraham. So he's referring to Abraham's people.
Right.
Which is the basis of the three main religions here.
That does not give us a green light to support Bibi's endless endeavors.
Yeah, no.
It just doesn't. I
But
think
that's literally, and I think it's a fundamentalist view. It's not a Lutheran. It's not a Catholic view. Too bad we didn't have Bridget here today. Talk about the Catholic view in it.
Well, I can
It's
go
not
into
at
the
all
history
view.
of it. I mean, okay, so we'll plug our own show a little bit. The Truth Expedition, we've interviewed a couple influential people on this topic. Okay, so we've interviewed Pastor Rick Walz and Pastor Chuck Baldwin on this discussion. And they have a thorough analysis of how the evangelicals were indoctrinated with this propaganda. And it started with the Schofield Bible. And other influential pastors like Tom Hagee, I think that's his name, Pastor Hagee, would receive money from the Israeli government. He received a jet from the Israeli government to fly around and preach that specific quote out of the Bible, which is so utterly misconstrued that you have to wonder, what is the point and purpose here? And it is to get folks on board with the endeavor of Greater Israel. That's what it is.
O'Bannon writes, but what happens when Iran lobs a nuke into Israel? Okay, and so then that gets us to the threat level. Okay, so I want to say something. I'm just quickly, as I'm talking, just going through, as I tweeted this out. Okay, I'm going to dump this onto the sheet here, Dawson. I'm going to put it as B6. So this is the current intelligence that was provided by Tulsi Gabbard, who's the Director of National Intelligence, which is the central hub of collecting all intelligence for the United States government, CIA included. And it says, the United States intelligence community continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khomeini has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. So this is Trump's appointed DNI, Director of National Intelligence. The way that I look at this, the problem with the public debate right now is, and I think O'Bannon asked this question because Netanyahu says that he's developing a nuclear weapon, and even I think Trump is alluding to that. We are then turning to putting our faith and trust in elected officials, our politicians, to tell us the truth on intelligence, because we do not control the intelligence apparatus. And the nice thing about America is we have a free press, but there's a big barrier to a full free press. It's called classified information. And the collection sources are classified. And so therefore the narrative comes completely from the government. It comes from politicians as their spokespeople for the government. And so it doesn't, so the two big things that they allege are reasons for attacking. And as you heard Trump say, I'll make that decision in the next 2 weeks, is one, a nuclear bomb, okay, which I don't think anyone believes that nuclear bomb is heading towards us. It'd be heading to Israel, which could, depending on what they develop, obliterate Israel, right? Number two, yeah, right.
Well,
definitely don't want that, right?
I was going to say, it's almost like it's in their writings and stuff, like, to obliterate Israel. Just really fast, I'm really curious, Jake. Do you think that Iran wants to build a nuke?
I think the Ayatollahs definitely do, and I think the government apparatus. When we talk about Iran, and this is the part, and I like bringing this up, is I have a different view of the flags and the government apparatus than I do of the people. And I have a little bit of insight into the people of Iran, both because the place I was stationed in Iraq was southern Iraq, Basra, Iraq, which was actually a Shia area of Iraq. Iraq isn't a Shia majority. In fact, if people don't know this, the Shia sect of Islam is predominantly Iran. That's like it's a theocratic style government run by the Supreme Ayatollah. The Shias are really in Iran, a little bit in Afghanistan, a little bit in Iraq. In fact, it's really interesting. After we got rid of really a secular leader, a terrible secular leader in Saddam Hussein, the Shias took over the government of Iraq.
Right.
So a Iranian-aligned government took over Iraq. There, you want to talk about blowback. So, so the people of Iran are somewhat westernized. There's this famous story
For sure.
just a couple years ago. A Olympic wrestler for Iran, wrestling's huge in Iran, he was put to death by either the government apparatus or the Ayatollahs. I don't know how much the Ayatollahs weigh in on that stuff. for protesting the government. There's lots of protests. The younger portions of Iran are somewhat westernized. I love seeing places like that become more westernized, and they were actually westernized
Very
before the
westernized,
Ayatollahs.
dude. Yeah.
Right. If you remember, right? So, I have to like separate. Now, I have a friend that actually traveled to Iran. He wasn't even in the military. He traveled to Iran. I thought about having him on the show today. We'll see if he wants to do it. So you got to partition those two things. The Ayatollahs, there's not a good word I would speak of the Ayatollahs. Absolutely terrible people, fundamentalist Muslims who literally would want to seek to destroy.
Well, they do have a fatwa out
people.
against developing a nuclear weapon. So that's what they're stating publicly. Now, I do think that they're religious extremist, and I would not want to be governed by that type of institution.
And clearly not a lot of the Iranian people either.
Right.
Hence the big protests in Iran.
Right. Yep. This is an ancient Persian culture. Please watch a travel video on Iran. These are beautiful people that we should be protecting. The overthrow of the Shah in the 70s was a byproduct of the U.S. and Israel messing around in Iran. So the more we seek regime change, the more we're getting blowback. And this is just exactly the latest chapter in this.
Hey, and when you say that, it's like proactive regime change. Wouldn't it be wonderful to have regime change in Iran, right?
Right.
Wouldn't it be wonderful to have regime change in Israel too? But do we directly affect it? And that has massive blowbacks. I don't know. We don't have to look that far in history.
Taliban.
You get Bashar al-Assad out, and what do you get?
Right.
Al-Qaeda.
Right. Well, we worked with Al-Qaeda to overthrow Assad.
Right. And
And
so
then
now it falls in their hands.
Right.
It's ridiculous what happens. Okay. And that's another thing that I don't even think we're going to have time to weigh in, but if we were to get regime change in Iran, then what? Then what are we doing? Are we going to stay in Iran and try to promote democracy in Iran? Wow, what an interesting thing that is. Gee, how'd that work for us in Afghanistan?
At least we'll know in about 2 weeks. We'll know what's happening.
Let's pray not. And that's and as much as I want to speak in these negative terms, and I'm critical of Trump, what a wonderful thing that MAGA universe is split on this, and people like Steve Bannon and Tucker Carlson and Matt Walsh are talking out against this stuff. And a lot of these influencers are not just taking what Trump says, they're pushing back. And I saw this on the debt thing. And that's a wonderful, good thing. It's a healthy thing, and no one's a traitor here. We can have these discussions. But I want to say this to you guys. The people controlling the information that is leading us into this next war, and it's two things. It's not just the nuclear bomb, but it's also what Ted Cruz was alluding to in that interview, and we didn't really get into it as much, but that they're trying to assassinate President Trump. That's the other story that they're using to bring us into war. And I just don't believe you guys, and there's absolutely nothing you could say to make me believe you. And what a weird predicament that is, to have a debate where one side just goes, whatever you say, I don't believe you, and I'm representing that side. But why would I believe you?
Right.
Because you lied us into two terrible wars that cost trillions of dollars, thousands of lives, tens of thousands of injuries, and suicides, and many other things. I don't believe you guys for 1 second. I don't wake up in the morning, and this was another thing Tucker said in this interview, I got to go through homeless people, drug addicts on the street, and you're telling me we should worry about Iran, right? Now, Israel should worry about Iran, and they are a sovereign country, and they have every right to do that, okay? I just don't think America should be getting involved in this. I mean, we're flat out broke anyhow, but the blowback of it, there's no policy that I could even if they had a good idea on what to do after the fact, why would we believe they're going to be smart on that? They certainly didn't see Iraq falling to a Shia government, and then after that we get rid of the Shia government and a Sunni, and then you basically have Iraq 3 with ISIS overtaking Iraq. They didn't see all that stuff. They can't see this. And in fact, in many regards, it turned out worse.
Right. What instance of regime change has turned out well? And I would argue probably the most formal maybe is Syria. You know what I mean? If that's the best case, is we have an ISIS leader now commanding Syria and, low key just assassinating all of the dissidents and Christians over there.
Christians.
I mean, if that's the best case scenario, what can we hope for in Iran? I do really, all of you guys should watch that 2-hour video because it's a mask off moment between Tucker and Cruz. And I think we were chatting before the show. I mean, he's so timid about AIPAC, he can't even talk about it. It's like asking Tim Walz, what is a woman?
Yeah.
He can't answer it. He's afraid to actually tell the truth because the level of influence that is had by Israel and AIPAC is tremendous. I mean, Thomas Massey went on Tucker and said, every person in Congress has an AIPAC handler except for me. I believe him when he says that. So, and then when we see our foreign policy play out, it's in favor of Israel. In the interview, Cruz says we only spend $3 billion a year. But then if you go on the Libertarian Institute and talk about what its cost, what the cost has been over the last 2 decades to protect Israel in this region, it's been $2 trillion or more. That's $100 billion a year or more. It's probably way more than that. Now, and again, Jake said earlier, Israel has a right to exist. I believe that as well. I posted a link to a video that the Truth Expedition did where we interviewed Rabbi Feldman from Netira Karta. It's a Jewish organization that began in 1938 in Jerusalem in opposition to colonial Zionism, where they saw people come over and commit the Nakba, which is, the genocide, the first genocide in Palestine. So in this interview, Feldman talks in length about the difference between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism. It is not anti-Semitic to be anti-Zionist. I am a religious Zionist. I like the idea of Jewish people returning to their homeland and there being peace in the world. That sounds awesome to me. This political way of going about taking greater Israel is likely going to lead to the destruction of all of us. Like what Mark Bashofsky said earlier, what happens if Pakistan sneaks a nuke into Israel? There's so many little things right here where this escalation could lead to all-out warfare. And let's not forget that dead hand algorithm where one nuke starts going off and it's a chain reaction. I don't want any of that.
It also could really deter other people. I thought about that this morning.
Right. Google the Samson option. That's
because if I was betting money, I mean, Israel doesn't have nukes, but let's just say they did. Let's just say they did.
Yeah.
That's the nuke. It goes into Tehran or wherever they.
Right. They hold nukes.
Which, by the way, I cannot, for the life of me, see any justification for nukes, knowing that it's indiscriminately going to kill. In places like Tehran, millions probably.
Right.
So, what would the fallout be of that? Because the big scary thing is Russia and America end up in a nuclear war, and they keep launching, we keep launching, and it's just destruction of humans. Yeah. At least in those 2 areas. What's so funny?
Sorry, you said fallout. That's a It's a nuclear pun.
See what you did there, or I did there. Tucker says Matt Walsh came out against the war. He'll be dumped by Daily Wire in a few days.
It's true.
Is he still part of Daily Wire?
Oh, I was gonna. Yeah. Well, I mean, dude,
I didn't.
You can say what you want about Shapiro, but Matt Walsh is their talent. Like his 2 documentaries. I know you disagree how good it was, but Am I Racist is top shelf.
I'm gonna hate that, and I'm also not gonna give any reasons for it.
Yeah, exactly. Can you believe this hater? No. But I wouldn't say anything bad about Dawson because I'd be anti-Semitic if I did.
Exactly. Yes. Now you're getting it. That's the good stuff.
Well, can't criticize them. Can't criticize Jeffrey Epstein or George Soros and hate to be considered anti-Semitic. Oh my God.
I think the beauty here though really is how Tucker is changing that Overton window.
Yes.
And he's shifting things over to this logical discussion where the state of Israel does not represent all Jews. It might be like a very extremist faction and understanding of Judaism where God promised us the land. And I think, not to get too nerdy on this, but really I think the central focus here is Jerusalem and the Temple Mount. If you look at the Temple Mount, there sits that golden dome of the rock on top of the Temple Mount, and Al-Aqsa Mosque is sitting on top of the Temple Mount. It's like, I've got boys at home, it's like playing King of the Hill, right? That Temple Mount is the only place in the world where Judaism can have a temple and have a functioning religion, okay? So they have to retake that Temple Mount. We're going to see that happen soon. I think that's going to happen easily in our lifetime and probably under Trump's presidency. I've said for a while that it could be an errant missile from Iran that, compromises the Temple Mount compound. Al-Aqsa right now is shut down. No Muslims or Palestinians are allowed access. So I think that is going to be the hinge point where once that mount is secured by the Israeli government, you're going to see all heck break loose in the Muslim world, and that's when the 2 billion Muslims are going to be called to fight.
Do you not swear? Is that why you said all heck will be loose?
I swore earlier when I said financial.
And then you
so I try not to. I mean, I will a little bit when I'm talking about these issues.
That was like a Bridget thing. All heck will break loose. I was like,
when I talk about these issues, though,
I want to be. It's my problem.
I want to be so careful because people's religious beliefs are very personal to them.
Right.
And I'm okay with that, right? I consider myself a deist. If you look at the fundamental laws of the universe, God created this. This is great. Our job here is to perpetuate his goodness and to have peace, right? We need to work hard towards peace.
But you wouldn't go as far as calling yourself a Christian.
I wouldn't call myself a Christian.
Do you ever attend church?
I have, in the past.
What was your
confirmed.
upbringing?
I was Lutheran.
Oh,
raised Lutheran.
God.
I was
you
the
left
kid.
us?
I was the kid.
Come back.
In
we
the
need
pastor's office.
Come back, Gunnar.
Trying to figure out Revelation. I was the kid in the pastor's office because we owned a hotel.
I was even more than that. I was in the pastor's home.
Yeah. There you go. We owned a.
By the way, my dad's a pastor. In case people didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because that could really come across really, especially if I was Catholic. I was in the priest's home. No, my dad is a pastor. Okay,
Yeah.
that's the
and
reference there.
every pastor or religious figure that I've ever met, I've had nothing but respect for.
Really, you haven't met enough.
But so. That's why this is what animates me fully, is that I understand with this Abrahamic eschatology piece the last few dances in this play, and it is going to be surrounding that Temple Mount. You're going to see the infiltration and the excavation of the Temple Mount only increase, and we're going to see a lot of stuff happening very soon, and we should pray for peace. And sadly, I don't think we're going to get it.
Yeah. I don't think you're getting choked up. I think you just need water.
No,
maybe you are getting choked up. Maybe this
a little bit of both. I've got a tickle in my throat.
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah.
I've got one too.
Yeah, I think in the end of the day, and we had this discussion before the show started, is that it's better for us to think that God has blessed all people, and that's what I think is that scripture verse. Oh, we got a rumble right here by someone new, Elaine Elstad.
What about sleeper cells that might be ready to attack regular Americans in the name of Iran at any time?
I was winding the show down, and there you go. And this is something I'm passionate about, because she is right on the money on this. When you think about what Joe Biden did in allowing this porous border, this was the part that just boggled my mind, because the vast majority of people coming across the U.S.-Mexican border are people fleeing to America for economic reasons, and I think there should be a process, and we should bring in people to work here. Okay, they can't come here illegally, but because of that, you have trafficking of drugs. Even worse, you have trafficking of humans. And on that same level, you have people other than Mexicans, other than South Americans coming across that border for something that I would assume is going to be a direct threat to America. And so, yes, I do wonder, and I don't know if it has to be Iran. There's plenty of jihadists, Wahhabists, Bin Ladenites,
right,
that would come across that border and also try to create sleeper cells in the United States of America and could create and wreak havoc in our society. And that's why we have to be unified in protecting this border, because we can't just allow a porous border. And it does actually, you are right, Elaine, that does worry the heck out of me. AEQEA says ELCA isn't Lutheran. Yes, and by the way, my dad was an ELCA pastor and left that church, and I think it was that 2010? Obviously, you'd probably know what.
It's another
we're
good point that Elaine brings up, because if you look at the impetus for folks to go into war, there's always a cause, right? I mean, Pearl Harbor, 9/11. We should look for false flags. I mean, we know that. And if there is an event like that, we should very much question what happened. And we shouldn't use it as a reason to issue a blank check. The USS Nimitz, which is due to be decommissioned next year, is on the way over to
used right now, isn't it?
Right. And so it wouldn't be the first time something like this happened. There's been so many wars that have started with the sinking of a ship that this might just be the next chapter. And I think that things are going to move.
Wait, are you assuming someone's going to attack a U.S. ship, naval ship?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, USS Nimitz.
Which side?
Yeah, I think it could be Israel. You know what I mean? I really do. And I think in order for...
Not again.
Right.
Not again.
Exactly.
Oh, you guys don't know that one. Look that up. What was
USS
that?
Liberty.
USS Liberty.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an interesting story. That
for sure.
Seems not to get enough
USS Liberty.
attention.
Right. Yeah.
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 Dingsfin says the problem with closing the borders is that drugs will become more expensive in the US.
Grow your own, brother.
Oh man. Okay, we can have some fun. This is my final statement. I am against war. Okay, big time. And I feel like I've maybe earned the right to be against war. I don't know. I gave up 2 years of my life to live in Muslim countries, one in Kosovo, the other one in Iraq. I mean, I think I can weigh into this conversation a little bit. You know, as a young 20-some-year-old, well, actually, I enlisted in the Army before 9/11. 9/11 happens, and it was that and the early drum beating to go to Iraq that got me the idea to take it to the next level and join ROTC.
That's the same story as American Sniper.
Yeah, well, no, that's the story of a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Although those guys were after, I can't remember if he was before or after 9/11.
9/11 happened in the middle of the movie, so it was after.
Was it really?
Was in there before, yeah.
I'm already forgetting it.
Yeah.
But certainly a lot of people joined. Like Pat Tillman infamously left a very high-profile NFL career to join the Army and became a Ranger. So post 9/11, Tim Kennedy. Right, famously joined the military after 9/11. I joined right before, and then decided after 9/11 to take it to the next level, become an officer. So junior, senior ROTC at the U of M. I actually was a proponent of the war in Iraq. We were the same age. What were we? Stupid young guys. What the hell did we know? We had never been in an era where we'd been lied to like that at such a large level. You'd have to go back to Vietnam to be kind of at that level. So what the hell did I know? I was a dumb college student. And then I was willing to go over and do that kind of stuff. And now I'm in a position where I go, well, I know these guys lie. I don't want to be a pawn in their game. I wasn't a big military guy anyhow. 12 years, there wasn't much that was going to keep me in the military. But certainly wasn't going to go deploy overseas again. When I got kids, that's ridiculous. Now I'm in a position where I go, I got kids and I don't want them being in the military and deploying and dying for some other country. And for some, because, you know, when you're in Iraq and you're being bombed, and in that case, we were bombed by Iranian aligned Shias because we're invading their territory. That's where I was in Basra. Spent a little time in Baghdad, different Sunni triangle, a little different attacks up there. So it's like, wait a second, we're not even, what are we doing here? Like, it's not for America's interest, right? I mean, I watched the Qasr port not too far from where we were, like not even bringing in, I think it could have brought in like 5 tankers and they could only had one functioning port. Like, you're not even getting the oil from this region that we could be harnessing. Like, what a ridiculous, and I'm not making an argument we go to war for oil, but it's like, geez, at least get something out of this thing because it's only costing us and so much blood and treasure. So, and I don't want to be a pawn for these people, and I don't want my kids being a pawn for these people because they're liars. And if there was an invading force coming across the Canadian border, you don't need to pay me. You don't need to re-enlist me. I don't need my commission back. I'll go there and I'll meet whoever's invading the border with my own firearm because I'm an American and I have a firearm. And so that is what I believe in, is war is the last resort, and we got to stop this bullshit overseas. And I just don't trust these guys at all. Now, I went dark. I want to go back positive. This is a conversation that's happening, and that's why I like the Ted Cruz Tucker interview because they're having when you watch the whole thing, it's uncomfortable at times. Tucker makes good points. Ted looks foolish. Tucker looks foolish. But in the end of the day, they're having a damn hard conversation, and it's at least happening.
Right.
And the MAGA world is split, but that's good. And maybe, and this is why I feel like we're compelled in this show to keep talking about this stuff and whatever platform I'm on, to try to influence the world to bring Trump back this direction so that he doesn't go full neocon. Because, you know, the people that were his biggest enemies weren't even the Democrats. They just needed him as a boogeyman. They just needed him as a guy that they could punch, they could fundraise and build their organizations. His big enemies really were the neocons, the Bill Kristols, the Cheneys. I mean, my God, the Cheneys not only endorsed Kamala Harris, but they actively campaigned for Harris. Don't give the Cheneys a win in the end and attack Iran. Don't go to war with Iran. So I think if we voice our opinion out there in our spheres of influence, and I love it, the Dave Smiths of the world, the Scott Hortons of the world. I haven't heard Joe Rogan, but I gotta imagine he's that way. Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon, all these people, Matt Walsh, anyone that has this viewpoint that's aligned with us, start voicing out to the people, because we need to not engage in this reckless policy overseas. And thank God that our MAGA universe, whatever this coalition is, whatever you want to call it, is having these healthy conversations and possibly going to stop this big mistake. And Trump has time to do the right thing. And that's why I'm very optimistic. And if Trump does engage in war against Israel, we're done. I mean, no support for that guy. And I am not the only one on that. And I think some people are a little premature on abandoning Trump on this issue, because I think there's a ways out of it. But I think I am one of many people. Maybe you are that way. Maybe you're not that way. But I hope you see the follies of our way from the last 20 years, that we cannot engage in this warfare. It is so stupid. And don't think for a sec. I mean, do you really think for a second that Iran really poses a threat to you and me, to our way of living? Do you think so? I don't think so at all. Russia's a bigger threat, and I don't wake up every morning in fear of Russia. I certainly don't know.
China's a bigger threat, and all I do is just buy stuff on Amazon.
Right.
You know, I think when we look at this too, Bibi he's been trying to sell this war for 30 years. He's said that Iran is 2 weeks away from a bomb for basically 30 years.
Right.
This, as you can go back and look, General Wesley Clark said after 9/11 that we're going to do 7 countries in 5 years. The last one on the list is Iran. We are not attacking Iran because of something they're doing. They are not an imminent threat to the United States or to Israel. They do not have a nuclear weapon. We are doing this because there is a timeline, 7 countries in 5 years. We're way behind that. And there's a timeline that Bibi and others are trying to abide by, and they're behind schedule. They're desperate. And I think that things could get really messy. And I'm just trying to be honest. Things could get a little messy. It could be isolated just to Iran. I doubt it. And that's where, to avoid a car crash, you should do everything you can, right? I mean, I see this coming. I've been seeing this coming for the last 10 years, and I never thought we'd be right on the door. I voted for Trump knowing that he might be doing this stuff. Here we go. I knew that
seemed to be the better bet, though, on this issue.
Yes, I was just going to say that. Totally the better bet. But I think that, if anything, maybe the best bet, because if he truly is America first and does care about our nation, which I kind of think he does, then maybe he does try to keep it isolated over there. You do your thing. Let's get it done quick. And then let's go on to free trade. I hope that's what's happening.
Trade with all, war with none.
Yes.
I think let's end it on this, because I like what Freedom Junkie says. And Jason Doydian, I'm not sure Jason's been on the show before, so thank you, Jason. It just says, this scares me, brothers. I'm praying for Trump right now. And same thing, Freedom Junkie, pray for Trump to make the right decision. Amen to that, right?
Yeah.
Let's do it. I hope he does. I absolutely hope he does, and I will give him credit for it, because peace is the right answer, and trade is the right answer, not war. War is not the answer. So, all right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you to our great sponsors, Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. If you're looking to buy a home or sell them, give Warren a call at 612-419-7453. If you're buying a home, go to the good guys at John Galt Mortgage Company. Go to johngaltmortgage.com or check them up on Facebook or X. Also, thank you to Alpine Cabinetry and St. Cloud. Are we live on Locals? Do we have ability to do our post show today?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so we'll do our post show. If you're not a premium subscriber, you can go to truthhurtsnews.com. Click on support us, or if you're on Rumble already, you can click on join us, and you'll be part of our post show. We're still trying to solve some of the tech issues with Locals and maybe exploring going just to YouTube for the post show. Lots of interesting things that we got to sort out here. If you do want to shoot, if you want to shoot with me, or if you want to get your permit to purchase class, we talked about that. Sorry, permit to carry. You can go to Elite Guardian MN, as in Minnesota.com. You can click on the permit to carry class. You can sign up there. What the hell? If you go there, use the promo code TruthHurts25. TruthHurts25. There you go. You guys can get a discount on that for tomorrow because you're fans of the show. Appreciate it very much. What?
And then tomorrow, the Truth Expedition, Mark Bashofsky and myself are going to be interviewing Ryan Dawson, who's made a couple of incredible documentaries, Trump's Zionist Ball and Chain, and how Israel stole the nuclear weapon. 2 documentaries that are incredibly eye-opening, especially today. I think, again, Trump is going to be a strong nationalist, but he might be compromised. We need to pray. We need to reach out to people. We need to get the word out. Pass this show along to folks. Pass the truth along to folks. We need it now more than ever.
Jason asks, where are you guys based? We're right in Roseville, Minnesota, in the belly beast, the liberal zombie apocalypse of Minneapolis and St. Paul. We'll be back again on Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Hopefully, Maggie Jess will be joining us. If you are a subscriber, we'll be live on Locals in 1 minute. If you're not, once again, go to Rumble, click on Join Us, or go to truthhurtsnews.com. I think we covered everything. 2 Rumble rants. O'Bannon and... No, did we have 3? We had 3. So sorry. Do you know how to get
Elaine
to it?
Elstad.
Elaine Elstad, thank you, Elaine.
O'Bannon. And O'Bannon.
2 by O'Bannon?
Thank you, O'Bannon.
Why did I forget there was 2 by O'Bannon?
Sounds right, though.
The first one was O'Bannon?
Cruz bloviating, and then gun control advocates want to limit lawmakers from carrying at the Capitol.
Amen to that. Thank you. Appreciate it very much. All
Thanks,
right,
everyone.
We'll be live in 1 minute. Take care.
It is something that is weird to me because
You're back up.
I've spent a fair amount of time thinking about Hortman. You know what I mean? Because those were very contentious moments and issues where you have people carrying at the Capitol and her fearing for her personal safety. You know, and whatever fears those are unwarranted.
Well, clearly unwarranted at that time.
Unwarranted, right. And so I just,